Come represent for the gangsters all across the world. Hitting corners in the mumbo girl. Taking my time to perfect the beat, and I still got love for the streets. I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world. Hitting corners in the mumbo girl. Taking my time to perfect the beat, and I still got love for the streets. I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world. Hitting corners in the mumbo girl. Taking my time to perfect the beat, and I still got love for the streets. And I still got love.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Leslie Mota. Welcome to the nightly recap powered by the Gokhshtein News Network, your trusted source for politics, crypto, and everything in between that makes you question reality. Tonight, we've got a special treat for you, a classic three-way featuring Hotep, Jesus, and Landy. Easy, DJs, keep your hands where we can't see them. Or are we truly having a three-way? Because Landy started off with us and then now he has disappeared. Did he just chicken out?
Did he?
Did he? Did
You
he
look.
or did he?
I don't know the way you looking. I'm feeling like Diddy. We might need to get the baby oil out tonight. She got the black on black on. I'm feeling like a bad boy.
Oh my God. Because you know what they say on Fridays, we go black on black. Who doesn't want a little chocolate ice cream, chocolate mousse, or hot chocolate to warm your soul? You're
Are
mighty
you going?
giggly.
Are you going out again tonight?
Why do you say that?
Because last week you had the chi-chis out and you were
Was it
going
last
out,
week?
and now you got the chi-chis out again. So that means you going out again.
Wait, I thought it was a previous night. Not last Friday, but the previous
Last
Friday.
Friday you had the chi-chis out.
Wait, was it? I don't remember, but
Yes. Yes,
I'm
you
just
did.
going to dinner, or
Who you
maybe
going to
I dress
dinner with?
my sister
Yeah,
and
y'all went
friends.
out. Yeah, y'all went out to dinner last week and you had the chi-chis out.
Yeah, I mean they're not that out. It's just a little bit.
They out. It's definitely past the limits in Hotepistan.
Oh, really? Is that
Absolutely.
so?
Yeah, you have violated the fashion code in Hotepistan. You absolutely have.
So, what is the fashion code in Hotepistan?
I haven't finalized it yet, but I know what you got on is a little too. It's a little too revealing.
Oh, Hotep. I guess to each its own, right? But on that note, yesterday we honored Juneteenth, a day of freedom, resilience, and reflection. What did you do, Hotep?
I streamed. I streamed because that is my favorite thing to do. Um, Other than play with my daughter, is to stream. Yeah, so I streamed yesterday, all day. We streamed from 2 to 11 a.m., 11 p.m.
Oh,
It was a
wow.
fantastic time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I watched some of your streams, so it was wild stuff, and
Was it
it
wild?
was no, not really. I
No.
agreed with a lot of stuff you said, and I mean, to me, I don't know. I've seen so much, watched so much. The way that I grew up, it's you don't take anything personal. Doesn't matter how crazy it is or what they say. It's just okay. Everybody has their views, their opinions, and you just sit there and listen. Made me laugh a couple of times, and today you were wild too, talking about how much you hate Latinos or Hispanics.
Over the age 45.
So what if I am over the age 45? You hate me too? Or you no, you said you didn't like them. So you don't
Well,
like me, but you love me.
this is different. I think that the Latinos I ran into 10 years ago over the age of 45 are now 55. So I might have to adjust that number. If you are 45 plus, we're going to have to adjust that number to 55 plus. I apologize. But you
Okay.
don't look a day over 40. You don't even you barely crack 30 to me.
You know what? I think you started something because today I was talking to David
Mhm.
and somehow he came up with that thing about like you don't even look Mexican. And I was like, David, what is a Mexican supposed to look like? I said, or are you now siding with Hotep that they're supposed to look old, round, and like, they have
Yeah.
a lot of kids? And he's like, "Mm." I'm like,
Mexicans look
No,
like a cupcake. Have you ever seen a cupcake before?
but they
Mex-
don't though. Like,
Mexican women over the age of 45 look like a cupcake.
have you seen Salma Hayek?
Salma Hayek is Mexican?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
She looks amazing. It's at her age. I mean, she always looked amazing. Shout out to Salma Hayek. She's a phenomenal looking
Those
woman.
are
I didn't know she
tortas.
looked.
Julie says those are tortas, Leslie. You are not a torta.
Yeah, those are definitely cortitas.
Look, I have to show you because I think that you are looking at one side of Mexicans and there's a whole different other side of Mexicans over the age of 40, 45, or so that you're going to be like, there's no way. And I am going to be like, yes, way.
I think what happens is Mexicans, once they cross the border, become spoiled. I mean, American culture is trash. Let's just be honest. Most women in America, because of processed foods and processed sugars, they look like cupcakes. So once they cross the, I mean, really, they should just stay on the other side of the border, right? Because I
So
think
you're saying
Mexican
everybody should
women,
stay in Mexico
y-
because when you stay in Mexico, you look a lot better?
you look a lot better in Mexico. Yeah. Once you become a Mexican American, it just ruins you. Latinos and Latinas should probably stay in
Which I
Mexico.
mean, but I think you can stand corrected on that because I am American Mexican.
Yeah,
So
but you used to be fat. You used to
that
be the same
okay, so
size.
only for 10% of my life.
10%? 10%
Yeah,
too
which
much.
means
Well,
no, all the way up to my late 30s, I was always very thin. I was a thin Latina. And then
okay.
of the last few years of my marriage, that's when I gained the weight.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
And
glad
at
you.
the but you know the crazy part of it, Hotep, at that point that you met me, you thought I was thick. You never called me fat. You didn't think I was fat. You just thought I was thick. Now until I started losing more weight and you thinking I look like a different person, now you call me fat.
I don't remember calling you thick.
Yeah, you did.
When?
Remember when we went over your theory of the bodies and the shapes and stuff like that?
Oh, I was probably lying.
Okay, so well, I mean,
I just,
it's recorded.
I was probably lying to you to make you feel good. I tend to do that. I'm a
I
Libra.
mean, you
We
can
gonna
tell
lie
me
to
the
you.
truth. Nothing
You
offends
look
me.
better now. You look better now. I was saying, you had a lot of meat in your face back then. Pause. But yeah, you look better now.
On that,
You were a meatball back then.
oh my goodness gracious. Trying to
Yeah.
make me choke on my own saliva tonight, huh?
Ooh, choke on your
Pause. On
saliva.
that note,
Whoa. Wait. What's the rating on this broadcast?
hey yo, we're gonna get fired tonight. Julie, I love you, Julie. Julie has met me since day one. If she says I didn't look like a meatball, I didn't look like a meatball. Oh my
Oh my
goodness gracious.
God.
Anywho,
That was wild.
that was wild. Pause on that one. It's getting hot in here. It's getting steamy. We got to turn the AC on. But next on the news tonight, rate shift possible this summer. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller says rate cuts could begin as early as July. I need them to stop lying and saying could begin blah 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 because time and time again, didn't they say June? Didn't they say May, June, now July? I mean, do they not know?
Well, I think I'll be the contrarian here. I think that the Fed is actually making the right decision this time. I honestly believe this is the only time in history that the Fed has made the right decision. The thing is, if the Fed cut rates earlier, it would spook investors. It's like, why are you cutting rates so soon? It's like, is there something wrong where you think you need to cut rates? So I think the delay on the rates is the right move. Let the economy recover. I'm also a fan of not adjusting rates at all. I
Why?
think there should be, first of all, we have to start with my premise that there should be no rates.
Okay.
That's number one. Okay, because the Federal Reserve is lending us our own money. That sounds fucking crazy. Like they're creating paper, they're creating money out of thin air and then charging interest on it. That just sounds criminal. So the interest rate should be zero. But if you are going to operate, I think that the interest rate should be zero. But if you just and you have to let things be, right? Because
Mhm.
when the Fed plays with interest rates, it has ripple effects through the economy, and I think they should always hold or cut to zero, get to zero and leave it at zero. But holding is better than raising.
Oh my goodness gracious. Up next, Russia looks east for stability. President Putin says Russia will strengthen strategic ties with China through 2030. So, yeah, I mean, Russia and China, the United States of America's other two biggest threats.
Um,
Yes.
I like to call them market partners. And, I don't like using the term competition when it comes to business and money. I like to use the term market partners, and they're just keeping everybody honest. And Russia and China have been in bed with each other for a millennia now, almost. It is Russia itself who introduced China to communism. So to see them do business together is not surprising at all, and it totally makes sense. When we think about Mao was funded by communist revolutionaries. So and really, a lot of that comes back to trying to destroy the nationalist movement in the country. So they funded Mao to help him destroy the nationalist movement in that country. So this has been a long marriage for a good marriage for a long time.
Do you think that the United States of America has a possibility to be moving into a communist type country?
America's already communist. We have to be honest with ourselves. All 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto have been implemented to some extent in the United States of America, starting with central bank. In the Communist Manifesto, it does say that you need to have a central bank. So we are already following in the uh, the ways of Karl Marx. So America is technically a communist nation. If you want to be completely technical, it's a quasi-capitalist country, but we definitely have communism here, and we need to be honest about that.
Absolutely. Hotep, what do you think of another man calling another man king?
It depends.
No, in the gayest way possible.
Well, I never want to intellectually explore anything gay. No, that's just not going to be something that I do.
Okay, so
But
any man
it
calling
is
Trump king, King Trump, King Daddy Trump.
now, Daddy. That's going to be a little wild. Once we start calling him King Daddy, we've definitely ventured into gay land. We probably want to steer clear of calling him King Daddy. Um,
I told you, David.
we definitely want to call him what he is, commander in chief. He is the commander of the military, and that's definitely now king. I don't mind calling him king. I actually
So Landy and David called Trump King Trump. He's no king. He's a president. He's a human. He's no king. Anybody that calls Trump King Trump is gay.
I don't agree with that.
I do.
King Daddy's gay, but King Trump, I have no problem with that actually. He is king is a euphemism. It's a metaphor. They're not saying it literally, but he gets to call the shots, and metaphorically it feels very king like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, when I first met him, girls used to go into his space and they would call him King Daddy David, but that has stopped now.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Next up, Coinbase expands across Europe. Coinbase has obtained a license to offer crypto services across Europe. I think Coinbase is probably going to become the first crypto bank in our space. I don't know. JP Morgan Chase might want to come and take that throne from Coinbase, but we stand to see.
What's Coinbase up like 20% this week or something like that? Um,
Something.
yeah, they so I fumbled it. So I think it was Tuesday stream. Tuesday stream, I was putting a stream together and I said I try to throw a play in there for my audience at Hotep Jesus Live on Kick at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I try to find a play. So Tuesday I couldn't find a play. So I tried to think of a play and I was like, yo, who is gonna be a good runner right now in the stock market? And because of the moves that are being made, because of the Genius Act, et cetera, I was like, yo, coin is probably gonna move. So we're up 400% on the Circle IPO. So I was like, yo, who else is in this whole? So I'm like, wait, US Coinbase is a partner in Circle. So I'm like, yo, Coinbase might pump. And sure enough, Coinbase is like, I think it was Wednesday, the news came out, and then they pumped to like 16%. I think they were up like maybe close to 20% or something like that right now. Coin is a stock you might want to hold. Those guys, Brian Armstrong is making moves.
He sure is. Iran signals room for diplomacy. Iran says it is willing to resume nuclear talks with the U.S. if Israeli attacks stop. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
Why? Why do you believe that the tax won't stop anytime soon? What will lead you to believe that? Is this vibes? Is this facts? Is it fact based? What? How?
It's prophecy. It's something that has been
Prophecy.
continuously happening, and I think it's going to continue to happen. It might settle down for a bit, but then it's like they're going to come back full storm.
I'm gonna have to agree with that. I'm gonna have to agree with that. That is a solid take. This all comes back to World War One, the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and the West is definitely looking to conquer that region. The West is absolutely looking to colonize that region.
Mhm.
You can, have your own subjective opinion based upon those motives. I prefer not to, but since I live in the West, I'm rooting for the West. So, in the Ottoman Empire, I got to tell you, Ottoman Empire trafficked millions of Africans per year in the 19th century. And not only that, they chopped their manhood off. They turned them into eunuchs. So you can say what you want about the white man and their form of slavery, even though they did practice some forms of castration. But it was common in the Ottoman Empire to castrate their slaves. So I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, man, the Iranians have a ton of karmic debt to pay.
Yep. Quake rattles northern Iran. A magnitude of 5.2 earthquake struck northern Iran. Did you know that there was three earthquakes within a 24-hour period? It's almost like God was saying, "Not today." Or what are they doing underground that produce those earthquakes, because aren't they near a fault?
Okay, so there are different types of weapons being deployed in this. We have obviously ballistic and other forms of military. We know that Nabitex, a crypto exchange, was robbed of 90 million from an Israeli hacker group. So we have financial attacks. And I do believe they have the weather weapons. The weather weapons are being deployed, and the earthquakes. I don't think those things are natural. I think those have been activated. I don't know if is it HARP or CERN or whatever.
Harp.
Te- yeah,
Landy said
whatever.
harp.
Is it HARP? Yeah, HARP. Whatever it is, there's some sort of. Technically, they say HARP was turned off, but I don't know. Maybe they
I
have
don't
some
think
new HARP,
so. Because
but
they've been trying to play God since day one, Hotep.
yeah, you've got evidence of cloud seeding. We know that during a military parade in Russia, China, they've been able to create sunshine. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say this is a weather weapon where they activated the earthquakes to shake up Iran.
Yep, absolutely. Tensions rise near Israeli coast. Israeli media reports that US President Trump is close to ordering an attack on Iran as the US Navy deploys 5 ships off Israel coast. So yesterday, I have some friends where they did tell me that her son that's in the Navy was deployed, them and their squadron, and then special forces as well. So if we are holding off, if we are not going to attack, 2 week period, and I understand, oh, we got to be prepared or we got to, whatever the case may be. How many years have they've been going back and forth in war? We do have troops deployed in the east, because for whatever reason. But when have we seen where they actually are deploying units that are first responders if we go into a war?
Say that last part again.
I said, since when have we deployed this type of either equipment, troops, the way that we have the last few weeks, if we aren't going into war, if it's just to be prepared?
Oh, I get what you're saying. These definitely look like war preparations.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know what? I always say, look at a man's actions, not their words.
yeah, yeah. We have to be honest with ourselves and understand that America is and should get involved in this war. We did participate in defense of Israel. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
pray to the lives lost in Israel. There was a strike that hit a Mossad center, and unfortunately, collateral damage took down a hospital. 240 people perished in Israel. Um, and because of these type of casualties, I think it's important for the United States of America to get involved in this war to reduce the number of potential innocent lives that could be lost because of these clashes. We should get in now, get in early. We don't want another Afghanistan. The United States of America spent 20 years in Afghanistan. I'm looking at the conflict in Iran. Rough estimates say we're going to be there for a minimum of 10 years. If you think about it from a capitalist point of view, if you're the military industrial complex, 10 years is going to bring a lot of profits, ton of profits. If you look at World War One, World War Two, and you follow the markets, what you see is there is actually an economic boom during wartime, for war preparations, and war munitions, et cetera, factories, et cetera. There is actually an economic boom during those periods, and then you see a bit of a decline when war ends. So this is a huge potential. If you guys are investing in the stock market, this is a good time to go ahead and start investing in your military industrial complex, stocks, Halliburton, Lockheed Martin, et cetera, Boeing, what have you. But yeah, I think we need to get in early and try. I would love to see this ended as quickly as possible.
Um, Ditto here. Crypto framed as a global solution. Coinbase CEO says the world needs crypto now more than ever to fight soaring debt, crippling inflation, and the loss of economic freedom by promoting financial freedom globally. Well, I am so glad that you think like that, because who do you think the F has been keeping us crippled in debt?
Yeah. So I don't know if the stable coin is on the docket for tonight, but
It
I've been
is.
screaming. Okay. All right. So I'll save my take for that portion. But yeah, dollar hegemony is here.
Yes, and I will actually cue you when we're going to go full blown stablecoin.
Okay.
Okay, full blown. Optimism builds for crypto ETFs. Bloomberg increases the chances of approval for Spot XRP, Dogecoin, and Cardano ETFs to
Dogecoin.
90%. Doge.
Okay. All right. I thought there was a new coin that came
I
out
like it
called
when you
Dogecoin.
correct me. It just makes me feel like you're taking in control, and I could just be like, okay, you're taking care of me.
Does it make you moist?
It makes me feel kind of warm and fussy, some type of way.
Yeah, that was egregious. Dodge, that was egregious. I just want to make sure, we're representing GNN Network here, and just want to make sure we say the right things, because people at Dodge, they're typing in DODGE when I thought that was a new coin. So I just want to make sure we're on point here. So I'm sorry. Continue.
Well,
So you
thank
said
you
what
for
happened?
helping me out there. Yes, this is
Yeah,
how we take care of each other, right?
yeah. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. So what happened?
That's
The
how we do it.
Dodge coin did what?
It
There's an
says
ETF.
Bloomberg increases the chances of approval for SPA XRP, Dogecoin, and Cardano ETFs to 90%.
So I created a my own. I have an official. It's on YouTube now. I have created the official Hotep Jesus Index, and it
Yeah.
includes stocks and crypto. And XRP happens to be in my index. I'm bullish on XRP, mostly because I believe they are the Illuminati. So I am. You got to bet on the winner, and they've been. They've been putting in work for a really long time. I was on a podcast, I'm going to say in like 2018, and they said, "What are you bullish on?" And I said, XRP. I said this in 2018. I'm bullish on XRP. I was heavily leveraging XRP in 2018. And yeah, my XRP bet, I think I got an XRP at like 13 cents or something like that, something stupid. So I'm definitely bullish on XRP.
Bullish on you, being bullish on XRP. Iran decisions nears White House deadline. Trump says it's hard to tell Israel to stop. Adds the U.S. has 2 weeks to decide on Iran and suggests intervention may not be necessary. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, when Trump says 2 weeks, he said 2 weeks a million times. A lot of people have been posting memes about the fact that he always says 2 weeks. I don't fault him for saying the whole 2 week spiel, but it really what he's saying is he needs time. And that's really what the 2 weeks is. It's not a definitive timeline at all. It's
no,
not.
I think he needs till this weekend. Of course, you're not going to tell him, oh, less than. You're not going to tell him your time frame. If you are going to attack your enemy, you're not going to tell him in what time frame.
Right, exactly. That's just not good military action. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think the 2 weeks is just him creating space for a pre- pre- precision and
Mhm.
just in something that's going to be decisive. So you want to be precise and you want to be decisive, but 2 weeks gives him time, gives his team time, intel, planning, strategy, tactics, the whole nine. So the 2 weeks is just it's just buying time. That's all that 2 weeks means. It's just buying time. Some people have said that they need 2 weeks in order to prepare an attack, and no, I'm pretty sure the United States of America could
I
prepare
think
an
that,
attack in five
yeah,
hours.
they've been preparing for an attack weeks prior to that. So I don't think it's the
Yeah,
2 weeks for
yeah,
attack because they had already been deploying troops 2 to 3 weeks ago. So
right.
don't, yeah, no. Okay. Up next, civilian toll climbs in Iran conflict. Iran's health ministry reports that around 400 people have been killed and 3,000 injured in Israeli strikes so far. Up next, Fed leadership under fire. President Trump threatened to fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell, reportedly calling him a dumb guy and a Trump hater. I think Jerome Powell is one of the biggest trolls. I did call him Judah to kind of give an analogy of how Jerome Powell is, but
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put and classify this as charades. Trump is a showman. We have to remember that, and he's not going to fire Jerome Powell. We all have to be honest about that. He's not about to fire Jerome Powell. I don't even think he has the power to do that.
I don't think
Um,
so either.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you need congressional approval for something like that, and then even that is an uphill battle. But no, it's just charades. It's just something that riles up his base and lets him know that let's it's posturing to his base to say, hey, look, I don't like what Jerome Powell's doing, and I'm gonna fake the funk and act like I can do something that I can't do. But it's just basically a hyperbolic way of saying I don't approve of Jerome Powell
I
and
think
his
so too.
decisions. Yeah.
Iran questions future with US. Iran says it no longer knows how it can trust the United States. I didn't know that they were in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship here. Anywho, but whoever said that we can even trust Iran in the first place?
Yeah,
That's
you
a
know,
toxic girlfriend right there.
you can't trust the United States. Iran is correct. You cannot trust the United States. The United States is coming for keeps. And Iran should know this. If Iran thinks that the United States is coming for peace talks, you're just being gullible. We are coming to conquer Iran. We want Iran. We want Trump hotels on the coast of Iran. Yeah, just you definitely don't want to trust the United States of America. They have proven that this is not a trustworthy empire. So yeah, they're absolutely correct. You cannot trust America.
And you heard it here first. Hotep
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
Future leadership quietly debated. US and European diplomats confirm confidential discussions are underway about who might lead Iran next. Oh my goodness gracious. Trump nominated for peace honor. Pakistan officially nominated President Trump for the 2026 Nobel Peace Prize, which I think it's kind of funny that Pakistan nominated President Trump because they are going to be one of the countries that ends up betraying the United States of America and stabbing us in the back when they actually get in a line with China, Russia, Iran, all these countries when they start attacking Israel collectively.
I will say that this is more about the Pakistan India war. Pakistan and India are currently at war. This is part of World War III, which we're currently in.
Mhm.
And I think this is more of them desperately trying to seek sympathy from the United States of America and basically saying, can you not get involved in this? Can you not side with India? Because we're pretty close to India. Tim Cook has moved a ton of manufacturing to India for their iPhones, which Trump actually denigrated and said he wanted Tim Cook to bring the manufacturing back to the United States. But yeah, I think this is more of virtue signaling and just basically saying, "Hey, Trump, we like you. Can you not send the F-85s or whatever over here?" I think there's more of that.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
Hotep, on a different note, changing the tune for
Mhm.
just a tad bit.
Okay.
Are you cheap? Are you taking me to IHOP?
What's the alternative? Because I don't do IHOP.
I don't either. Mar put in the comments for you not to be cheap and take me to IHOP. But I'm like, Mar
I
taking the woman on a date to IHOP is cheap.
yeah. So here's the thing: when you take a woman out, you're taking yourself out. Okay. And I personally would not take myself to IHOP. That's just something I'm not. I no, that's a bad look. You don't want to eat IHOP. No shade to IHOP. And IHOP is poverty food. There was a time in my life where I didn't have the coin, so I had to, take the family to IHOP. It's an affordable meal. But once you reach a certain level of economic power, you don't do IHOP anymore. You say goodbye to IHOP and you level up a little bit. There's great chic diners. I live in New Jersey. We do diners. We not doing IHOP. IHOP is not, no, that's, I'll do Waffle House. Waffle House is
What
is a
about
good
Waffle
treat.
House or Red Robin?
I like Red Robin actually. I like Red Robin. But here's the thing. If I were to take a woman out, I want to take her someplace that I personally would enjoy. So what I'm looking for is Italian. I'm looking for private owned, not chain, and someplace that has some good baked gnocchi. Have you ever had gnocchi before?
No.
You've never had gnocchi?
No.
Oh,
Maybe I can
so
experience something for the first time with you next time I come into New York.
we're gonna have to take you to get some gnocchi. Gnocchi,
We
GNOCCI, one of the most spectacular Italian dishes you will ever have. It's some sort of like potato pasta or something like that, and
Mhm.
you make it with some form of marinara and some cheese. I don't know what kind of cheese they put in there, but gnocchi is absolutely marvelous. So I would like to do something. I like private Italian. If we don't do private Italian, I like to do something more private Mexican, where we can get like some fajitas and they come out in the steamer sizzling.
Well,
But
I can do the Mexican for you
well, there you
in the
go.
privacy. Yeah.
Yeah, I can just come to your house. We could have Mexican and Netflix and chill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That absolutely works too. But we're not. I can't
Because
allow
I
myself.
can cook. And actually my food is well seasoned. It's really good.
Well, you're Mexican, so you're kind of born with a recipe book.
Not
So
all Mexicans can cook.
all Mexicans can cook.
I can even make tamales, and not all Mexicans can make tamales. They're really
I
good too.
I don't even know what tamales are, but you know what I love? Um,
No, you're
what are
not.
they called? I get these all the time. Chicken empanadas.
Chicken empanadas.
Empanadas.
Empanadas
Oh,
de pollo o empanadas de carne. ¿Qué quieres?
pollo.
Yo te lo cocino. Pollo y
Pollo.
quieres de tomar.
Domar. Domar means, what does that mean again?
Drink.
Oh yeah, drink, right. Um, I don't know. I don't know what pairs well with empanadas. Kool-Aid, Coke. But I love
I'll get
empanadas.
you some if you don't drink liquor, I mean, we can make some margaritas, palomas,
Ooh, margaritas. Now you're speaking my
palomas.
language.
We can get
Yeah.
you some jarritos. Oh my god.
Jarritos.
I hope that now, Mara is taking some pointers from you. He's desperately telling David to make us talk about the news. He told you today that he really, really gets anxiety when you and I are on at night.
Well, Mar has no
We can
swag. He's got no swag, He's got to come hang out with me. I'll teach him the ways. I'm black from New Jersey, so we over index in the swag department. So I can help him out there. I help him. He's going to need a dictionary. I told him download Duolingo, set it to English, and up his English. His English is absolutely horrendous, so he's going to need to learn English.
stop it. Yes. We
Yeah,
can have a limonada, horchata, like whatever you want. I know how to make horchata too.
limonada. What's
Yeah.
limonada? It sounds like lemon and
Lemonade.
what?
It's lime, water, and sugar. It's delicious. And then
Oh,
horchata is like
limeade.
rice water.
I had the most spectacular limeade in Curacao. Curacao, like that is their drink. So you can go anywhere in Curacao and get limeade. Oh my God.
Yep.
Delicious. Because, like, I guess lime grows wild in Curacao. You ever been to Curacao?
No.
Yeah, my lady took me to Curacao last year, and that was a wonderful, wonderful time. I love Curacao. I want to buy the island. I'm thinking you can buy the island for about $500. I want to buy the island.
That is freaking awesome. Okay, chat and all our viewers. Actually, Hotep and we're going to go behind the scenes, take a quick break, and we are going to be right back. Don't die out there while we are out. Hotep, meet me in the back.
I'll meet you in the back. Uh, oh my God. Oh, oh man, that was a hell of a time.
Hold on. Hold on.
Fix your lipstick.
There. Is
Oh,
it fixed?
they got a little wild back there.
Oh my goodness, it's hot.
I'm
Welcome
sorry.
back,
I didn't know you
everybody.
were gonna come back that fast. Hold on. Let me get myself fixed
I
up. Hold
mean,
on.
I'm telling you, some of you men are really fast. When it's needed, it's perfect. Welcome back, everybody, to the nightly recap, sponsored by Hoppy, powered by GNN. We're gonna go into our next. Before I tell you what we're gonna get into, I do have to tell you guys this isn't just money. This is control. Behind the shiny promises of stability, stablecoins are quietly becoming the rails for a new global order. They're programmable, trackable, and fully obedient to them. Who is them? Not you. This is the digital leash. And while you were busy buying the dip, they were buying your freedom. Welcome to the second episode of the nightly recap. Hot mics with Hotep G says, battling the one and only Landy. And the crowd goes wild. Hopefully, Landy, I drained his energy to battle you. We'll see.
I'm
Yo,
famished.
that was look, I look, third wheeling over here. Mar, I feel bad for him. Mar, I'm so sorry that you
I
had
hope
to
you didn't have a heart attack
witness this
after the
live.
commercial break.
Mar logged off.
Yeah, poor Mar. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame he had to find out this way.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Do
be
not
knowing.
delay the inevitable, Landy. I'm about to kick your ass.
Oh, we'll see about that. You know, I got my boots on. I'm ready to go to war. I got my I'm ready. I'm ready. This is funny
You better
because
be ready.
I am 100% ready. Now, look, we want to talk about what's really happening in the world. Leslie, go ahead, set it up. What are we going to be talking about here? What's going on?
So, okay, and I guess my angle's a little bit different, right? Because this whole time, ever since stablecoins were introduced, to me, it's centralized control in disguise.
Hold
Private
on, I'm loosening
corporations
up.
coming in. I mean, is this a question? Can they freeze your funds at will? Do we have to comply with government and sanctions, regulations? And I'm asking questions like I know completely nothing, right?
The
For
answer is
people that might
yes.
not know. There we go. So
It's
it's like,
already been done.
Listen,
I mean, it
$5
gives you an
right there.
illusion that I think to me it's like it gives an illusion of freedom, but there really isn't freedom. So it's like we're going back to square one of being controlled by the same government that oppresses us and that we're trying to get out of under.
Talk heavy, Leslie. Talk heavy.
How heavy?
Yeah, listen, you're misunderstanding the optics here. See, we're moving from one system to another.
It,
And when you're
but
moving
what's
from one
this?
system to another, you better side with the good guys
Right,
or
but
be
it's a
left
system that's
behind.
still going to
Who are the
control us
good
at the end of the
guys?
day, right?
Who are the good
Obviously,
guys?
obviously us, the
Okay.
empire.
All right. Who
We
wait,
are
wait. When you say us, who is us?
us is
GNN
the
network
United
or
States,
okay,
the
United States of America.
empire.
Okay, continue.
The empire is going to win this war. All right.
Okay, you're
And
saying
this
that we're the empire, right?
yeah, we're the
Well,
empire and they were trying to usurp us at the end of the system and they
Who's
failed.
they?
They is the prior global economic elite tried to set up a coup to overthrow and control the US empire in its totality, right? Because at this particular point in time, we are still a decentralized 50 states. And they wanted to consolidate the federal United States into a global new world order.
wait, but can I just ask a quick question because aren't we trading? one form of currency bondage for another with better UX?
You remember last week when I said we trend towards centralization and then trend back towards decentralization?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to be trending back towards decentralization within the centralized system. The
So
Genius Act is
then,
proof of that.
so is stable coins, is it giving us, the people, unstable economies, access to the US dollar? So we're still going to be subject to
It's a new
inflation,
system.
devaluation, and
Uh,
political manipulation, correct?
of course, but in a decentralized manner instead of a globally centralized manner.
So what's the whole point and purpose of it? I guess that
Because we're at war, Leslie. We're at war. It's economic warfare. It's mind share warfare. It's a war on your mind at the end of the day. And it's nation state warfare. And there's players and alliances that want to usurp. They don't want to see we were set up in the last 4 years, in particular, for this 4 years to become essentially a vassal state of the private Western central banking system cabal with no control or check, right? And this was a way in which you have the combination of, look, you can't separate money and politics. There's always going to be politics and money and politics, right? No matter what system you're using, centralized or decentralized, there's always a way. We see that even within quote unquote decentralized systems, right? But the fact of the matter is the Western nations wanted to roll up and aggregate power and control over the United States so that the United States is literally the safe haven, the place that can be used and fully controlled and aimed as the big stick without any say in the game. And prior to that, we were the ones that had the say. Up until that point, we shifted the needle. Now, they had already begun to exercise this control throughout World War I into World War II and began to consolidate that control throughout the Cold War into where we are now, which was to turn the entire globe into a global centralized system. And no no one in the United States would have a say. We would have all of our rights essentially taken away and we would be fully under control. Because the check on that system right now is the fact that we have 50 states and that we have a robust and even if at this point somewhat um, uh, illusionary control over where our elections head, there was still the opening, and that opening allowed for President Trump to get elected in 2016 and again in 2024. And they didn't want that. They wanted to consolidate power and restrict our freedoms and censor us and bring us to complete heel so that we do literally everything and there is no say. Now it's a battle. So this is an
okay.
ongoing war.
So
Landy, you fucking up.
what I'm understanding is stable coins are not inherently slavery,
They are.
but in the
No.
wrong hands they can become digital shackles. I mean, this is kind of what he's saying. To me, it is. So
Hold on,
who
sweetheart. I
controls the
need you,
keys?
sweetheart. I need you to hold on. Let me handle
Yeah,
this, okay, baby?
yes, daddy.
Let the men handle this. First of all,
Yeah.
Landy, you're wrong. You just way off base. You like to pretend as if the citizens of the United States have rights, but under the Patriot Act, whenever emergency powers are invoked, we have no rights. They can basically declare martial law at any time. We can't own land due to eminent domain. So this facade that we have rights is exactly what I said. It is an absolute facade. And if you need demonstration of that, all you have to do is reflect on 2019, 2020, where they locked down the entire globe under the guise of some sort of mysterious virus called COVID-19. So you like to pretend as if we have rights, but we've seen prior that our rights can be just completely stepped on. And I'd like you to expound on how you believe we have rights when we've seen them completely, utterly destroyed over and over again.
because I look, I was not saying that we are totally independent. It's a battle, right? There were certain states that refused to lock down, or lock down for a shorter period of time and then didn't go again, and then didn't go with the flow, right? And we still have a measure of checks and balances in place that they wanted to completely and totally take away. And this is where this came from, the current administration at the time, which was the Trump administration, right? And the recommendations of Fauci and others within that administration, which are beholden to global powers, right? But the fact of the matter is they didn't want to leave any of that to chance. They wanted to wrap that up, get rid of Trump, and this be all of our rights be aggregated outside of the United States in its totality. So there is no possibility of the people standing up. And that's what led to the backlash that got Trump reelected in 2024 to begin with. And the
I agree with
conversations
that.
surrounding that are robust. Look, we were right near the very end. If Kamala was elected, it was over. They were going to wrap up and consolidate all that power. 100%. We would have no rights at all.
I don't like to deal in hypotheticals. I like to live in reality. Okay. I don't want to deal with hypotheticals, what could have
It's
been,
not.
what should have been. Let's deal
It's
with
not a
what
hypothetical.
is.
It was
No,
where
no,
they
no,
were already
no. But
trending.
did she win?
No. It was where
Okay.
policy was already trending, and you don't think they would have continued that policy? They ran on it.
What policy is this?
The policies that they ran on were the policies to continue to consolidate power within the U.S. government infrastructure and away from the states. They literally wrote
For
legislation.
example,
I don't have an example right on tap for you, but this was already where the Biden administration was headed with some of the policy regarding censorship online. And that's, usually where it starts, but censorship online extends to censorship in real life. We'd end up in a UK situation.
Censorship online has already been extended in the state of Texas, where they have already passed legislation to ban certain forms of AI distribution. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, censorship is going to happen.
AI is not free speech.
AI is definitely not free speech, but there is going to be forms of censorship at some point. And I think there needs to be forms of censorship. I'd like to come back to your premise that you believe there is in America. You believe that there is a United States of America, because I don't see a United States of America. I believe I believe that America is simply just a corporation, and it's actually just a vassal state of the West.
United States of America is a corporation.
Right.
You're right. Yes, that's why we have Washington, D.C.
Right.
And this is, in my opinion, to with the direction that things are headed, there was going to be a total corporate takeover of not just the United States, but the states within the United States, where there would be no, and this is now getting into tinfoil hat theory, but you can see the path that it was on. But the fact of the matter is the corporation obviously is bankrupt, right? So the corporation is bankrupt. It's in heavy debt, 37 trillion in debt.
It's in
right?
debt. Let's say it's in debt. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. It's definitely not bankrupt because it can still move money, and we still have velocity of money.
Right.
So, but for all intents and purposes, when looking at a balance sheet, you'd be declared bankrupt at this point because there's no way to service that debt.
Right.
Now, that means that we have to move into a new system, and we were going to be faced with moving into a system that either we control or is outside of our control. Right?
Who's we?
We, as in the United States.
Okay, see that's where I need clarification. When I say we, I'm talking about me. I ain't talking about United States. So I usually use the term they. Okay, so United States is we versus who?
Versus the global centralized infrastructure.
Okay, so you believe the United States is separate from this globalist system?
No, we are part of, and what makes up a large portion of that globalist system.
Okay.
Because we perpetuate it and fund the shit out of it, right?
Right.
And there is no real, that's like any of the member banks. There's no difference between the Fed and the member banks, right?
Correct.
But there is ways in which to exercise control globally or locally,
Okay.
right? And it's about, where does the power base lie? Does it lie within the United States or outside with foreign powers or a conglomerate of foreign powers?
Yeah.
And right now, I look at this as a battle for control, and that being that where you have that control matters most right now, because when you're moving from one system into another, where the power base of that control is, if it's in the United States versus outside of the United States, means that you can exercise either more or less control over the citizens of the United States. Now, there's pros and cons to both. But here in the United States, if we are in control of, stablecoin issuance, and we roll dollars into stablecoins, one, we're moving from a highly centralized system to a quasi-centralized, decentralized system. So decentralization within that centralized system via these big bankers now issuing their own stable coins or vectors for the US dollars, where
And
they
not
can
even the
hoover up.
bankers. This is all types of corporations.
Yes. I think, but the real money moving in to issue the stable coins, and the biggest stable coin issuers on the planet will be all of the banks, right?
I agree with that.
And that means that now they're all going to issue their own version,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then they have to back with US treasuries, right?
Right.
And this is where, if this was done outside of the United States, we lose a measure of control. And this is where then the laws of the United States would no longer be applicable inside of the United States because of the way that that operates. Now, there's arguments for and against that, and that's why there's still arguments going on Capitol Hill in the House as the Genius Act has passed the Senate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because it's here, we have more direct control over everything that comes after the Stablecoin Act, which is basically just issuance guidance, right? And rules and regulations for backing, stuff like that.
Right.
None of it codified, by the way,
Right.
until we see the Clarity Act pass. I'm glad that Charles Hoskinson brought that up the other day with David, because that's a big one.
Right.
Now, if you have that power base of control here, we get to export and vassal state everybody else, not necessarily the other way around.
Okay.
And if we can aggregate that power control structure outside of Western nations and just to the United States, we can wrench control back into the United States in a way that we have not had the ability to do in the past. We've tried and failed a few times now, and you can look at who's been in power and who's been president at those particular points in time. And it's a game, and it's not a game that has clear winners and losers, and it's not a game that has a clear who is pro and who is against. It is a big Ouroboros, and it's about aggregation of that control. You either want it globally and outside of the United States hands, or you want it within the United States hands. We're still going to deal with all of the same problems that we've had, but it allows for a vector of control with a power base coming from the United States and utilizing the US dollar and exporting that US dollar to exercise control against nations like China and Russia and all of the rest.
Right.
So, and including allies who have tried to wrench that control away from the United States. And we see what Israel's doing right now, right? They're trying, this is their gambit to try and pull the United States into a war. So we see how these nations try to
Israel
manipulate.
is trying to pull the United States into a war.
Absolutely.
That's, wow.
It's a money thing. It's all about money at the end of the day. It's money and aggregated control. Well, it's money and aggregated control, because if you can get the more dollars into this war, you get more vested interest into the war.
All right,
if it was just them,
we've got to stop right there. We got to stop right there.
Let's go.
When did this war start? It didn't start.
War started a long time ago.
Okay, all right.
Talking about the kinetic warfare.
Who invested and created Israel?
It was us, of course. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we invested and we created Israel. and now you're saying Israel's pulling us into a war. Those two thoughts are just completely
No,
contradictory,
they're not.
Landy.
No, they're not. And I'm going to tell you
Landy,
why.
Landy,
Because
the
BB
West.
is tried to
Hold on
exercise
a second.
control
Hold on
over
a second.
us, not the other way around.
Hold on a second, bro. Because you sound like a neocon. You sound like the people over there. Listen, man. The West, World War One, defeated the Ottoman Empire. I'm sure you're familiar with this.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Following the fall of the Ottoman Empire, there was the division of property in that region. One of them happened to be the giving of Palestine, or basically saying Palestine will belong to this tribe of people, and that became the thing called Palestine, right?
Yes.
Then in that whole situation, we began to invest heavily to create the state of Israel, right? In order to have power in that region.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're saying 100 years later that Israel is pulling us into a war when we literally invested in Israel in order to have power in that region. There is legitimate interest by America and the entire West to expand in that region to completely destroy the remains of the Ottoman Empire.
I agree, but it's not. This was not. This is a fight for control. Look, I look at it as a nationalist versus globalist point of view. You have a global viewpoint from those like BB, sorry, and he has tried to exercise control over the United States actions and wrench that power away from the United States. I'm telling you, it's very, very clear.
So you believe BB runs Israel?
I believe that BB is in a power struggle.
With who?
With us. With Trump in power, he is in a power struggle with us.
Actually, I agree with that. I do believe BB's trying to that's a good point. I do agree with that. BB's trying to pretend like he run that country. BB don't run that country.
And Trump's going to freaking waffle stomp him. Sorry.
Correct. That is correct. We yes, okay. All right. So this comes
who's
back.
BB acting behind? But hold on one second, Hotep. Who is BB acting for? Because he's not a self-interested actor. That's my point. He's acting on behalf of who I would identify as those in the West who have globalist ambitions and New World Order ambitions.
I don't know.
Right or wrong. I believe that he is acting on their behalf. And that is why he's tried to sabotage Trump's agenda, not just this time around, but in the prior administration as well.
I think BB's acting out of self-interest. I think this is all ego.
I don't believe anyone. You cannot afford to be self-interested and have an ego because you have no cover in this game on the worldwide stage.
When the U.S. government continuously gives them billions in annual military aid, diplomatic technology, and all that stuff.
That's because that's the United States saying you're our bitch. That's why who's
that's
over
correct.
there within the
they
missile
are
defense
our bitch.
system.
I love the way you said that. That is correct. They are our bitch.
Okay, so how do bitches act? When you can't control your biatch or whatever, how does she act?
She act like a hoe.
That's a winning argument.
Out of control. How is Israel acting right now?
Look, BB tried to side with the globalist cabal that wants to get the NWO rolling, and there's a bunch of American interests there as well from within. They tried to get it rolling.
Get your news from, yo?
No, this is not who. Look, I've spent plenty of time out there, and let me tell you,
I know you have. You work for the CIA. That's why we never see your face, because you coming straight out of Langley with this propaganda.
This is not propaganda. There is a global.
Do you live in West Virginia?
No, sir. No, sir. He's over here looking at my IP address and shit. No, I'm going to tell you my viewpoint on this real quick.
Okay,
Look,
go
I
ahead.
look at Trump as the disruptor that was trying to stop the United States from using its lackey to consolidate power, and a global infrastructure, also known as the NWO. And you can look to the
So when you
World
say
Economic
lackey, you
Forum,
mean Israel?
all of the lackey of the entire West was still lackey to the United States, but there was a
Okay.
power struggle at the top, and there has been a power struggle at the top for a long time over
Okay.
who calls the shots, right?
Okay.
And Trump is a check and was a check on that power when he entered office in 2016. He destroyed their plans. And we know that he destroyed their plans just by looking at how he went against all of the World Economic Forum's ethos, how he actually went and tried to do deals in the Middle East, how he actually tried to kill off all of the green energy stuff, how he's tried to stop the export of dollars from the American people and start cutting back here at home, because it was taking power away from us directly, so that we have less and less of a voice at home by doing the things that the globalists want to do and the vision that they have. And this is a vision that they've had for a long time, is to roll up the United States and not have the United States have any kind of power to check them in the West. Right. And now we're at a point where we have a nationalist who is trying to break that power structure and take it over. Because I mentioned last week, we trend from centralization to decentralization. If you think of the globalists on one side as fully centralized, and you think of the nationalists as decentralized, decentralization trends towards centralization, and centralization trends towards decentralization. You have nationalists that want to band together to then become the new globalists. It is a power struggle at the top, and it's about who calls the shots. Benji aligned himself wrong while posing as Trump's friend the first time around, and we'll see if he's able to do it again. And Trump is basically saying, no, you need to do what we say, and this is how things are going to go. But he's battling the war on all fronts. That is where
All
we
right.
stand right now, in my opinion.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
Okay.
I agree with a lot of what you said. Let's go to the second part of this conversation. The
Okay.
stable coins.
Yes.
Now, Richmond, VA, Federal Reserve called the stable coin a synthetic CBDC, a centralized. What is it? CBDC, central bank
centralized
digital currency, right? Central bank
Centralized
digital
digital
currency. That's what they called it. Synthetic CBDC, mostly because it's backed by the Treasury.
Yes.
Yeah, it's backed by the Treasury. So that's that whole, as you say, centralized to decentralized, right?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're right, and that's because we already live under centralized control via the monetary system as it is, right?
Okay.
So anything
So
that touches treasuries is a vector for that centralized control.
correct. So my argument is it's going to be secular, where now it's decentralized because everybody's issuing their own
Mm-hmm.
stablecoin. My prediction is that won't be a thing in the future, where who can issue stable coins will start to be centralized, and it'll probably be centralized under banks only, and probably top banks like JP Morgan.
Yes. And in fact, we're already at that point, because right, with when this does pass, when you look at the actual bill, you
Okay.
need to hold for whatever you're going to issue, you need to hold treasury bills, notes, or bonds, because when we talk about treasuries, it's bills, notes, and bonds, and
Okay.
it's just U.S. treasuries, right?
Right.
And you need to have on your books as one-to-one backing for the stable coin that you're going to issue, something along those vectors, so you can have your treasuries, notes,
Treasury,
and bills,
short-term
bonds.
bonds. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
can the
I think it's
banks
like
offer that
5-year
though? Can the
bonds or
banks
less.
back it? Will they
So
have sufficient, treasury, cash, whatever they're going to use
this
for
is
the one-on-one
completely
ratio?
no, this is if you have a stable coin, to maintain stable coin, that stable coin, and be compliant with issuance, you have to have one-to-one backing with US treasuries, essentially.
Right.
Right. And where this is going to go, how many players in the game really are going to be able to get in the game with a as a stable coin issuer are going to have enough money seeded to do that? It's banks.
Only
Banks
the
are
big
going to
boys.
take it over. Yeah, they already have it on their books. They can
Correct.
literally just move a portion of their cash to mint and use the existing treasuries on the balance sheet to back. They don't have to
Correct.
do anything.
They ain't got to do shit.
Yeah, they literally everyone else has to bootstrap, right?
Right.
Because then they got to go and they've got to actually back. So they got to take in money, they got to do raises and all this other stuff. Where are they going to get the money to do all those raises? Oh, banks, that's right. Because we live in this secular system where even VCs borrow money, right? This is not you're not just getting pure angels going in and doing this stuff, right? And even the angels will never become as big as these guys, right? It's completely different leagues. So what this is going to, in my opinion, result in is much like what Hotep was just saying. You're going to have a whole bunch of banks issuing stable coins and then backing it with treasuries on the books. And then what they'll do is they'll siphon dollars that are not digital right in and just move over to these synthetics, right? So we're going to move right over because they don't have to do anything, right? They already have treasuries on the books to back what they have for the asset side. They need to back the liability side. So if you're holding dollars, you have treasuries, and this is a 1-to-1. We don't have banks that work on a 1-to-1. So we're going to be moving from one system into another. And then we'll have a period where they're decentralized and they have to compete for customers. Come use our stable coin. Here, we're going to offer you staking for yield because they're getting native yield from the treasuries. You cannot get native yield by holding it. So you have to go and stake it. So now you have to lock up those dollars, right? And then they'll use those dollars to issue more stable coins, then back more, and then they'll do the creation destroy side of things like they do with ETFs. It's really just a way to hoover us up into another system.
Yes.
My contention is that we want it happening here and not happening in Switzerland.
So, Landy, I have a question. So
I agree with that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If stablecoins are pegged to fiat, isn't that anchoring us to a failing inflationary system?
Not exactly. This is
Why?
So I've said this since 2023. Stablecoins is the best thing that happened to the dollar.
Why?
Yes.
It is literally establishing dollar hegemony.
Isn't it just a Trojan horse for programmable money and surveillance?
Well, all right. So those are two separate things, right? So the phrase I use is our bags will pump, our sovereignty will dump. So the USD will become great again. As far as our sovereignty and our Fourth Amendment rights and all of that shit is definitely going in the trash.
So you don't think that we are witnessing the quiet colonization of global economy through dollar dominated?
I don't use the term global. I don't use that term global, globalist. That is not in my vocabulary. I do not believe in that.
Why?
You and Landy use that term. Well, because I'm educated. Okay.
Because
So what does education have to? I mean, give me a good explanation why you don't use that word or why it's uneducated to use that word.
Because the earth is bifurcated between the West and the East. And if the East ain't on board, then it's not globe. It's Westernism. It's not globalism. It's Westernism.
Yes, but we have the Chinese on board with this in that they are in a vie for power. So look, when I say globalist ideals is what I'm talking about. Globalist is it's an ideal. It is a value set that comes out of the West, right? And that is to try and, I mean, you look at why China's doing and moving the way they're moving. It's because they don't want part of that system. And if they're going to be involved in any way, like when they're at the WEF or when they're in Switzerland and when they're talking about it from their perspective so that they can take this for them. And you look at the way they move, they're consolidating power on one side, we're consolidating power on the other. Globalist is an ideal. We don't live in a globalist society. There's, and even within the quote unquote globalists, Leslie, is, when you look at it, they're all just vying for power themselves, right?
Mhm.
Which means that it's going to trend towards what their ideal is and then trend right away from it again. And that's where we do have self-interested nations. But if we were to look at the West, it's more of it's more on the globalist idealist side of things.
The only place I see globalism is the cooperation of saying we are going to divide this earth based upon digital borders using these coins, right? So what I saw tracking the CBDC, I saw everyone around the world rushing to the CBDC and the United States not. And I was like, this is kind of spooky. And then Trump comes out, issues the executive order, bans CBDCs, and says, yo, we're going to rock with the stable coin. Now I see everybody around the world running around trying to do the stable coin thing. When Javier Milei became president of Argentina and he wanted to rescue their economy, I'll say he should probably stable coin up. That's probably the best move. And now we see United States, we're moving in a space towards stable coins. And it's creating dollar hegemony. It's making the dollar great again. We know fucking crypto runs on Tether, runs on stablecoin, runs on USDC. So I see it as globalism is a cooperation of saying you get to define who your cattle is. Russia gets to define who their cattle is, and we get to define who our cattle is. And that's the cooperation on the global chessboard. But I see it as Westernism versus Easternism, however they negotiate. And that, I guess, becomes globalism, but I still don't use that term. I just see West and East I just see black and white on the chessboard.
I think we're saying the same thing.
I believe so. I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't use that term, but we are saying the same thing. I agree with that.
I think so as well. I think that the one caveat that I would add to that is that the West wants to consolidate Eastern powers into the West.
Absolutely. And I think the East wants to consolidate the West into
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where
the chessboard comes in.
Yes. Yeah. And I believe that this gives us a leg up because we get to export dollars and they still have to deal with us.
Word. So when you said, we are issuing a stable coin from America, that's a good thing. We should clap. I told my chat, I'm like, yo, the stable coin is bad, but it's going to pump the bags. It's going to make, I tweeted this out like 2-3 years ago. I said, stable coins are going to make America great again. It's going to make the dollar great again. And I got a lot of pushback. People are like, what are you talking about? The dollar's going to die. I'm like, yo, you are so full of propaganda that you don't even see what's going on. Stable coins is literally solidifying dollar hegemony damn near around the world.
Mm-hmm.
That is fact.
And we get to roll from one really close to collapsing system to a brand new system while still maintaining that power. Unlike prior cycles where we have lost power and had to start anew, this is a transition into a new system. And there was, in my opinion, there was 2 ways to go, and this is the preferred way to go. We want to exercise that control, not have that control exercised upon us.
Yeah, we don't want it to be the pound or something like that. Yeah.
We definitely don't want it to be the pound or loonies and toonies. That's for sure.
Yeah, we don't want it to be the euro. Yeah, they don't even have enough people. I mean, they can't even walk around with spoons in their pocket. We definitely don't want them running around.
Depends on the type of spoon. You might be able to get away with it.
Is that spoon too big to be in your pocket? Yeah, it can get kind of weird.
That spoon's on a necklace. You're okay.
I don't even know how people live over there. I agree, Landy. I agree with that. And this is the the tug and pull that I have, where it's like I'm clapping because the stable coin's gonna bring massive amounts of liquidity into the markets. I don't think people understand how much liquidity is about to come into the markets. This shit is so
Insane.
I can't even fathom. Like I've been trying to because I'm a visual person, right? Anybody knows that I can play chess blindfold. So I'm a visual type person, and I'm trying to visualize the markets with the stablecoin liquidity coming in, and I still can't see it. It's like beyond my comprehension, bro.
It's going to be wild. I don't think
Oh,
that anyone, I don't even think that those who are in the process of facilitating it understand they can only project the implications,
okay.
but they can only project so far, right?
Right.
This is a game changer. And one of the things that they this also then gets into the Bitcoin conversation, because when you look at one of the main reasons why Larry went for a Bitcoin spot ETF, and he was the difference maker when it came to getting those spot ETFs. There's plenty of spot ETFs that were waiting in the wings, and once Larry said BlackRock, IBIT, spot ETF for Bitcoin, BlackRock ETF for spot ETF for Ethereum, you knew exactly where they were going. Where are all the stables? They're on Ethereum. What can you back and start to link to bonds over time? Bitcoin. We know that we're going to go and this gets into, there's the Bit Bond conversation happening in DC right now. You have many players within the Trump administration that were for Bitcoin as a reserve asset. And when you start linking that to a brand new system that is being backed by treasuries, wait for the day when we start accumulating Bitcoin and then using the treasuries as exposure to that Bitcoin in the treasury. And now you've got a link, you have a direct link in backing from Bitcoin to the US treasuries, from US treasuries through to the stables. You are now in a completely different system. And there's all kinds of implications to that, but that is the path that is being laid out. Now, whether or not that's going to be codified, whether or not that's where we're eventually going to end up, remains to be seen, because there is still a robust debate happening on Capitol Hill, and there's a lot of vested interests pinging every single one of these Congress people. It's about what can get done in this 4 years. And it needs to get done in this 4 years.
A lot's going to get done in this 4 years.
So do you think that it's actually going to get done? Do you believe that it will?
Okay. Yes. Well, when you say it is going to get done, what are we saying? Let's finalize that.
Okay. Yeah. So stablecoin issuance, codification of that through the Clarity Act, which is SEC regulation, right? And codifying stable coins and everything else. And then the Bitcoin Act, which is going to codify the reserve of Bitcoin.
Check.
You think we'll get those three? See, yeah. I'm on the fence still. I'm on the fence.
On which ones?
I'm on the fence on the Bitcoin side of things.
I won't argue that. I know the Clarity and Genius Act going through.
Have you guys ever seen that movie Time with Justin Timberlake?
Yeah, I have. That movie's crazy.
I think that's kind of a similar world that we're moving into with stablecoins.
I wouldn't argue that.
So when you're saying I'm having difficulty envisioning what it might look like, I think that's
So when I said I'm trying to envision the bullish side of things. The bearish side of things.
It's because I don't understand how.
I'm right with you. I see
for that. Like, if you really understand that, like, how can we be bullish on something that is actually going to take control and possibly take away our freedom?
It's like
if we don't spend it.
It's like investing in Lockheed Martin.
Look, it's profitable, mutually
it's like
assured
investing
destruction.
in yeah, it's like investing in Halliburton. It's like, all right, war is bad, but can I get paid off of it?
Can I increase my station in life
Yeah.
off of like money doesn't care. Money only needs
Andy,
to be
why the
made
hell
or
are you
lost.
bullish on stablecoin? Like, I know that you've said it, I just don't understand it. Like, why are you bullish on stablecoin?
Because settlement happens faster. That's step one. Settlement is anytime you speed up a system, that means money. If money can move faster, that means you can pour more money in. That means you can make decisions faster. That means more money's coming in. That's step one. Maybe Landy can expound upon that, but
Yeah.
that's my premise, is that instant settlement means faster transactions, because the old system is trash. Like, these fools wait till midnight and go, okay, how much money did they send you? And how much money did you send me? Okay, I'll send you the difference in the morning. Like, that's the old system. Now it's like instant, which means that the finance guys can make decisions faster, and that means more people are going to make more investments quicker, and it's just the money's just going to move.
I mean,
Called
which
the
is going to
velocity of
seem
money.
beautiful at the beginning, right? Until boom, it comes in. Nope, now we have full control. And this is how it's going to be. So they're going to lure us in, make it
There's
seem like it's a honeymoon stage. It's nice, pretty, beautiful. Take
well,
it off, take off the makeup,
Leslie,
and it's an
the
ugly
alternative
dragon.
the alternative is so that it's the what he's speaking about is the velocity of money. If money stops moving, the whole system collapses in on itself, right?
Yeah.
That's where you get the private Western central banking infrastructure that survives off of the inflation and the
Right.
movement of money. So when you see, for instance, when we just had the markets crash, and we had a what I called a Six Sigma event, right? That's a very volatile event in markets. Markets crashed and then they rebounded, right? What we had was money coming out of markets and then sitting on the sidelines. If that cash is sitting on the sidelines doing nothing, and let's say that more and more people pull and they're just sitting there doing nothing, the whole system collapses in on itself, right? You get a hyper deflationary environment that turns into some of the largest swings that you would ever see. For instance, you'd move from hyper deflation to hyperinflation again as prices come down and everything starts to crash and the system falls apart and then the money's reinjected. Like then you start getting these larger and larger swings before everything else just collapses in on itself, and then we move to a completely different system. You get more and more war, you get more and more jockeying and vying for power. Whereas in this particular way of doing things, if you have a way of transitioning from one system to another very smoothly, and then also picking up the velocity at which money can move, you can now siphon from one system into the new system while moving faster. And you can begin to export that power and control and maintain stability. And that's the theory behind it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm an advocate for the way these systems work, but that is the truth of the system that we live in
Let,
right now.
let me tackle something. I really want to. So Dragon of the East says he don't care as long as he gets paid, and it's sad. And I like that comment, right? Like, that comment means that you're thinking with your heart, right? Um, and I never want people to lose that, right? Like, I don't want people to say, we are only going to think like shrewd capitalists. Now, what I would call that is an idealistic view, right? So I don't like idealism. I don't deal in idealism. I'm a masculine man. I take Apex. I get that at menofwater.com. Coupon code HJX. So my outlook is things are going to happen in the world and around me. What I have to do is I have to assess, what do I have control over? Do I have control over the American financial system? So I have two options. Number one, the answer to that is unequivocally no. So option A is protest. Okay. I hate protesters. So I'm not going to be protesting the system, mostly because it's futile. So I say, okay, if protesting is futile, what are my other options? So my other option is to understand the environment around me and figure out what I can do to make my life better, my children's life better, and my children's life better. Because what I don't want to do is be in a situation where I'm a grandfather, I'm sitting on the porch, and my granddaughter comes up to me and goes, "Grandpapa, what were you doing in 2025? I was protesting." And I'm looking at her and she's in squalor, right? Or it could be, "Pop, what were you doing in 2025? I was in crypto, I was in the stocks, and now you are walking around with golden slippers." This is my granddaughter has golden slippers and she looks like an absolute princess because I set her up for the future. This is my outlook on life. You can complain about the way things are, or you can move based upon the way things are. My next statement, I'll land on this next statement, is the world today is not much different than it was 5,000 years ago. I'll say it again. The
Facts.
world today is not much different than it was 5,000 years ago. The only difference is the speed of time because of technology. Time seems to move faster because of technology. That is the only difference. So if today is exactly like yesterday, aka 5,000 years ago, what in my mind would I try to create an idea that I'm going to change something that has been a constant since forever? So I default and say, listen, I have to educate my audience. That is my responsibility. Hotep Jesus Live, 2 p.m. Eastern daily on Kick. I educate my audience and I say to my audience, I say, listen, this stablecoin thing is going to pump our bags and dump our sovereignty. I'm very honest with my audience when I say this. And when I say dump our sovereignty, I mean, there could be a usurpation of the Fourth Amendment because of the publicity of the blockchain and the transactions, the programmability, the geofencing capabilities of the programmable money. However, you cannot stop that. So what I need you to do is I need you to save yourself and save your family until we reach a point where this is not possible. Because right now we are at a turning point in history because of cryptocurrency, because of AI. You have about a 10-year window between where there will be no middle class. You've all seen Total Recall and all these different movies about the future, and they're all accurate. The middle class will be about 5%. It won't exist. There will be poor and there will be rich. And I'll be damned if I lead my people to live off of UBI in 10 years. AI is going to completely destroy human relationships and the human mind, let alone the jobs. We're not even going to talk about the jobs. It is going to destroy human relationships and human minds. When we get the jobs, it's a whole nother story. White collar jobs are going to get blown out. This entire world is about to change. We are at a turning point. This is a watershed moment. I've always wanted to say that. This is a watershed moment. And if you guys do not prepare, if you don't invest now and make money now, this window about to close so fucking fast. You go, oh man, I don't think you guys understand the AI rush is about a 12-month window.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's part of the new system, right?
It's
And
part
at
of
the
the
end,
new system. Yes.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's about control of that new system and who has the outsized portion of control over that new system. And that's where, when people ask me like, why did you vote for Trump? Like, I'd rather him control it than anyone else, right? If he
Right.
is going to set it up and set up the infrastructure, let him lay the groundwork for control of that system here rather than elsewhere. It's and look, we have a lot of known unknowns, right? Because we have a good idea of where things are headed. Um, and at this point, if you can export the dollar, that is control. And if you can export it at speed, that is even more control. It's over at that point. This is insane. Like
This
I
is colonization. Like we are like
yes.
literally taking over all types of third world countries through a stablecoin.
Yes, exactly. Think about these stables now going into
Kenya,
the poorest countries in Africa. Yep,
Somalia,
exactly. You
Congo.
exactly. And now who's exercising control? Is it the United States or is it China, Russia, and the others? Right. That's where we stand right now, and that's why we have the tariff war that is still ongoing. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing, because Iran is not some like independent state. They've been a vassal state for a long time, acting on the behalf of others. Why do you think there's so many Chinese planes flying in there going dark? Right? Like, come on. Like this is not hard. We make it hard because we have vested interests and bought players here in the United States who want to fight against the interests here on the behalf of others.
Hmm.
And many people only believe that they're fighting against our interests. No, no, no. They're not just fighting against our interest, they're fighting against the world's interest in order to take over here, because if you can control here, you can actually consolidate power in the West. And that is something that we simply cannot have. And that's the path that we were on for a very, very long time. And it's a game of chicken. So you're either going to be on one side or the other, and you got to pick the winner. If you don't pick the winner, then you're going to end up being the loser. And like Hotep had said, then you're now looking at your fight for your progeny being a very uphill battle going forward, because man, when you start adding AI into this and you start adding quantum computing into this, we're living in a completely different world, and it will change very, very quickly.
I
I'm
mean,
terrified.
quantum computing is not that far behind.
It's not as far ahead as they say it is, but it is not far off. Let's put it that way.
IBM just dropped a new supercomputer.
Yeah, and look, there's also risk. There's a lot of risk in what we're doing with this new future, right? Because not everything is assured, and there's always holes, and people always find those holes, and that's where we got to get things done now, and we have to move with a quickness, and if we don't, guess it's not just going to be, oh, hey, there's certain classes in America. It's going to be the American class and then the class of others that are going to be above the American class of people.
Facts. Facts.
So it
It's about
doesn't
to be fun.
matter if you are not accepting this and if you're against it based on principles and beliefs. You either get with the program or you get left behind with the poors.
Well, what are you gonna do? I'd love if you have a
Now,
plan to topple the globalist, as you like to say. What's your plan?
if you can't beat them, join them.
If you
Infiltrate
join
them
them,
within in.
yes, infiltrate from within. And guess what they've been doing for a very long time to us?
Infiltrating within.
Yes. And that we do the same to them, right? And in this case, um, to me, it's about, are you going to be on the winning side or the losing side? And you better pick winners and losers correctly and be I'm obviously an idealist. I got into Bitcoin in 2011. I am certainly an idealist. I didn't even know if it would still be around at this point when I got into it,
Damn,
right?
Landy, you have Bitcoin since 2011, Landy?
That's crazy.
That's when I
That's why
first
he
got
not
in.
showing his face.
That's crazy work,
He got
Landy.
he got 155 Bitcoin.
Landy,
Look, I've been
tell us
around
an
for a while.
estimate, a rough estimate, how much Bitcoin you bought at that time. Rough
I'm
estimate.
not even going to get into
You
estimates. There's
can't
ways
say
to
that.
find me.
You trying to get this man
Yeah,
murdered.
there's
I'm
ways to find me. But I can tell you that at the time, Leslie, that I was sitting alongside both active duty and retired military mining Bitcoin in 2011, and they were the ones that brought it up to me.
That's crazy.
Now, of course, they just could have just been interested. It was a
you know
cryptography class.
crazy.
I don't have any Bitcoin. I don't have no Bitcoin.
I
I lost it in the boat
found out
accident.
about
I lost it
Bitcoin.
too. That's
I
why I'm still
actually was
here.
working around a lot of military people at that point.
Were you?
Around that
Weren't you in
time,
the
yeah.
military?
No,
Oh, okay.
but I'm
I worked a
surrounded. I
lot with
was
the
surrounded
military.
at the time, and my kids are in the military.
Okay.
Whole family has pretty much been in the military over here.
I'd love to yell at you and tell you what to do.
What? You
Get on
what?
your knees, maggot.
Oh, you like it that they tell? I mean, to me, a man in
Private
uniform, I'm
Leslie,
like,
get on your knees and suck my toes, Private.
a man in uniform, I was like, handcuff me all the time.
Turn your ass around, Private.
Okay.
We can role play if you want.
Will you wear a uniform too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just wait till we have Optimus. Optimus obviously has a little bit of DOD in the house there, and wait till Optimus is powered by Gork instead of Grok,
Man,
and it just goes wild overseas.
It's nasty out here. Hey, I just want to remind everybody, while we're dealing with this situation, go get the Comedicine book out now. Comedicine, KE Medicine, KE Medicine, the Batana oil book. Go get this. This is great, man.
Who
It
wrote
goes
that
into
book?
this is written by Chase Duquesne, Dr. Enki. And this is about magnetism and mitochondria. I don't know if you guys know what mitochondria is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So tell me.
Powerhouse.
Oh, Landy. Oh, talk your shit, Landy.
That is the powerhouse, baby.
That's the powerhouse. That's the powerhouse. You take care of your mitochondria, everything starts working. So it's a great book on the mitochondria and how to get that powerhouse working.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. See, what's funny is I love the setup as a debate, but we actually agree with each other on 99.9% of things. Maybe language is not.
I thought he was going to come for your neck. I think because I've
Of
seen him
course not.
debate and I've seen him how he gets. I'm like, he's always so calm. I think that's why Hotep and I together on Fridays, he gets very aggressive on the timeline. He gets very aggressive everywhere else. He even kind of got aggressive with me on the timeline this week. He's like, "Woman, shut your mouth." And then he comes onto the live and he's just very passive, like, very calm.
So
I'm glad
Hotep's
that I do
spitting
that for you,
facts.
Hotep. I
I'm a
think it's
gentleman.
me.
Hotep's out here spitting facts, and he knows
No, yeah,
what's up, right? And
you
there
can't.
is
Hotep, stop
look.
looking at me like that.
Mm.
With those eyes.
You know where I'm looking to.
But look, Leslie, I know that and you're stirring, and I like the stirring. The stirring promotes conversation because otherwise people will just stay in their echo chamber and not argue their point, right?
Yeah.
So that is where I think that's valuable to even if you don't believe in the other side of the position, take the other side of the position to promote conversation. I enjoy it, Leslie. I do.
Thank you.
I know,
I do that.
David gets a little red. He gets a
He
little hot dog
does. Oh
red.
my gosh. He did tell me today because I do that. I agree with what Landy said, and I agree with both of y'all's points. And if you can't beat them, join them. And David did tell me today that lately I've been saying stuff for, with my conspiracy theories. And he's like, you just get me going irate. And I'm like, good. Then, I'm going to keep doing that.
But
Don't
hey,
tell
he's
me
got
that
to
because I'm
defend
going to
his
do it more.
position, right?
Yeah.
He's got to articulate his position. There you
But
go.
that's good too, because like say that if he goes on to debate somebody else in a show, like Hotep goes to Fox or with wherever you go to debate, you have to be prepared and you always have to stay in your element, control your emotions, because the minute that you don't, they are going to take the power over you. And I think this is one of the things that David has to learn too. If he has to understand opposing views, but even if he doesn't agree and they make him feel some type of way, how can you control that emotion in your output?
He just takes some Apex. He runs on the boardwalk swinging his Thor hammer. He's good to go.
I'm telling you, that first 2 weeks on Apex, gonna have you charge the fuck up. See what happens when you take the Apex, like you reach new levels of T levels, and you're like, ah, and then after that, it's kind of like you get used to it. You know, you're like, okay, this is
So
I'm
you don't
just
have
walking
anything for
around.
women?
We do have something for women.
What is it?
Aura. We just released Aura.
What does
That
that
came
do?
out 2 days ago. This is our immune support supplement. This is going to be anti-cancer, anti-aging, antimicrobial.
Does it have like NDA and things like that, or NAD,
NAD.
for your cell
I'm not.
rejuvenation and reversal?
We do a Tuesday show called Comedicine, named after the book, or the book's named after our show. We're not going to talk about NAD right now. We're going to leave that alone. Okay, we're going to act like you didn't say that.
Why? Do I say things I'm never supposed to say, Hotep?
It's a lot of marketing and advertising that you're regurgitating. Okay, it's a lot
Okay.
of marketing and advertising. But what I'm saying is that your body is designed to do everything perfectly, and if you give it the right nutrients, the right plants, it will assist your body in doing things efficiently. So that's
Do
the
you
system.
know?
We don't add anything to the body. Our supplement line does not add anything to your body. It just we combine a specific clinically formulated set of herbs that begin to clear things out, open up systems, and activate things like neurogenesis, et cetera, to make your organs do what they're designed to do. Because we've got pollutants in the air, we've got pollutants in the water, in your diet, et cetera, et cetera. We're just helping your body do what it's designed to do at its best. So we're not adding NAD to your body. We're not doing that stuff. Your body produces NAD.
Doesn't it
agree.
stop producing, or it gets slower as you age?
If you take NAD, your body will stop producing it.
Yes.
Now, I
If
do
you
eat for
take
my skin.
NAD, if you take
With
NAD,
NAD, your
your
body will start.
body will
Okay,
stop
got it.
producing it. If you take NAD, your body will say, you know what? Since you're doing this, I don't have to do it anymore. I'm gonna need y'all to chill out.
But doesn't your body stop producing it too? Like, as you get older in your 30s and your 40s, it
Your
stops
body,
producing the amount that it used to produce when you were in your
Because we're sick.
20s and your teens and your
Leslie, we're
20s.
sick. We're sick. We're perpetually sick. Now, I will make an
But not
argument
all the
for the
population,
need.
right?
Well, I'll make the argument for the need for people who cannot produce something or have a genetic issue or
right,
something like that.
right.
But naturally, over time, a lot of it, if you look at some of the historical studies of it, it's over time with what Hotep just mentioned. It's a lot to do with the environment that we live in, with air, food, and water. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you start getting into the type of lifestyle stuff as well. It's all contributing factors. And that's where I'm really passionate about this myself, because I have a young one who has a genetic deletion that got truncated and filled in with random genetic data that creates that stops the production of certain proteins that contribute to his special needs and his disabilities. And that's where there is two sections. Like we take a lot of things that we don't need, and then our body stops producing the things that we would naturally produce because we're over supplementing in those areas. And then there's a need for those who cannot produce those things because of various factors. So if you can detox and you can do things in the natural way, and then you can start to restart your system to do it itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, this is, I think, one of the things that eh, why I think I do look a lot younger than my age. It's because how we eat has contributed to my years. When I was growing up, my mother, we rarely ate out and we took care of our skin. We ate for our skin, for our body. We ate a lot of fruits, vegetable. It was a lot of homemade food. Hardly ate any red meat until, I was a little bit older. I really didn't like red meat until recently. Now I crave it. But even up to now, I still eat for my skin. It's like I eat fruits, vegetables
There you
that
go.
I know are going to be antioxidants, that are going to, I eat a lot of berries. I mean, berries,
Bears are
I
good.
did get COVID. I never got the COVID shot, but I got sick and they're like, go to the hospital. And I'm like, hell no, if I go to the hospital, I'm going to die. And that whole week, I literally was almost like fasting, and berries and white rice brought me back to life. My skin looked crazy. It like really looked very rejuvenated. And I still do that. I eat a lot of berries. I eat avocado. Avocado gives you a natural oils inside, but it also depends. Like, it is a very fatty vegetable. So it's how you eat it, with what fruits, with
Good
what
fats.
meals. And then I do fast a lot. Up to recently, the last few years, we used to fast at the beginning of every year. We were brought up Christians, and, one of the things that we would do is fast the first month of the year, which was January. And then after fasting, water fast a few days, then we would do, like, I called it the Daniel fast, which was just fruits, vegetable, nuts, everything, but everything was raw. And I think that contributed to like taking off years, off of my system. And now what I try to incorporate is do like at least a 3-day water fast to reset my system every other month, or I try to do it once every month. Sometimes if I don't, I try to at least do it every other month. That also contributes to my skin and me looking the way that I look. Of course, eating healthy and losing the weight, right? Life happens, things happen, and I stopped doing it for the last few years of my marriage. And then when I started back again, I'm like, I went back to my roots. It's really resetting my system, changing my system, and then changing my appearance back to the way I used to be. Because I always, even growing up, I always looked a lot younger than my age. And it was because of what I ate and what I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know where
And
you
we don't
haven't
do
lost
that.
weight at, right?
What?
You know where you haven't lost weight at, right?
What?
Go out and get the Comedicine book. It's here right now.
I've,
Amazon.com.
I've lost weight
Comedicine,
everywhere.
except them chi-chis. Magnetism and mitochondria. Go learn about your mitochondria. Landy nailed it. That's the powerhouse, man. That's where it all starts at, man. You fucking work that mitochondria. A lot of different things start to happen much better in your body.
Abso-freaking-lutely, gentlemen. I want to thank you guys today for a fabulous show. The nightly recap powered by Gokhshtein News Network, sponsored by Hoppy. I thought tonight was going to be pow wow. And actually, we ended up being like the Three Stooges, the Three Musketeers.
I like the Three Musketeers. They
Three
don't call me no
Musketeers,
Stooge.
not
Yeah,
Three
yeah,
Stooges.
not the Three Stooges. That's not it. Have you ever seen the Three Stooges?
Yes, I don't know. It just
Okay.
came out of my mouth. Remember when I say sometimes things come out of my mouth and I'm not responsible for what comes out of my mouth, especially after a certain hour.
We got to watch what
Uh,
comes out of your mouth and pay attention to what goes in it.
Guys,
powerhouse.
the powerhouse. So everybody that tuned in tonight, we did talk about stable coins, and they told you stable coins would set you free. But freedom with conditions is just control in a prettier font. As governments inch closer to programmable money and corporations hold your dollars on digital leashes, ask yourself, Is this innovation or infiltration? Because in this new financial order, it's not about what backs the coin, it's about who's holding the chains. So everybody stay sharp, stay sovereign, and don't mistake convenience for liberty. Right, guys?
Yes.
Yep, I agree with that.
And don't forget to take your mother effing Apex because no woman wants a limp man.
Big facts.
Facts.
That's why we always freaking moody. Because the man can't produce. You can't just be producing money and be producing in certain areas, but everybody has their needs. Hotep Landy, any last words?
Take your Apex, man. Take your Apex. Get the Medicine book, KE Medicine on Amazon by Dr. Inky. And listen to Landy. Okay. This is I call him Langley Landy. Okay. I call him Langley Landy. He knows what the hell he's talking about. When he speaks, you should probably pay attention. Although I'm mad at you, Landy. I am mad at you. Last Friday, I asked you, I said, should I do a margin trade for Monday? And you're like, oh, I don't know. And then all the fucking stocks bounced back on Monday.
They did.
I was so upset.
For a very short period of time, they got sold into pretty quickly. But look, I think this was a great conversation. It's very obvious that Hotep and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. So Langley Landy will lay down his arms and join arms with the two of you and call this a wonderful three-way call. And and I appreciate you having me on tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
Can't wait to get into a debate next Friday. But on that note, everybody stay safe. Keep your phone guarded because you don't know who is listening and who is spying on you. Take care. And once again, thank you so much to our sponsor, Hoppy. And we shall see y'all next Friday. Tune in. It might be a twosome or a threesome. You never know. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Taking my time, getting ready to be, and I still got love for the streets. I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world. Hitting corners in the love, taking my time, getting ready to be, and I still got love for the streets.